College sports have swept over America and gained vast popularity since 1906. The NCAA has organized these sports into a well-oiled business that has provided entertainment for countless households over its existence. It offers an escape for children and adults alike as it tugs and pulls at our heartstrings as we are drawn in by the intensity of each game. Because of the popularity, the NCAA has grown into a powerhouse and profits nearly $1 billion a year. With such a large profit, many have suggested that student athletes should share in part of the income because they put forth the most effort. The NCAA, however, feels that education is a fair enough trade-off and that these students do not need any other type of compensation. As an economic major, I have studied and analyzed data that reveal just how the NCAA has taken advantage of these student athletes. I will talk today on why it is time the NCAA changes its no pay to play policy. And to do this, I will first begin with the NCAA and how it has turned into a $1 billion industry since being established. Second, how only a small percentage of student athletes are actually offered a full scholarship. And lastly, why it is time to finally pay these student athletes. So let's start by talking about the history of the NCAA and how it has changed its income while not changing any of its costs. Per the NCAA beginnings, when the NCAA officially formed, it included a group of 62 colleges and universities from across the country. Over the generations, these colleges have changed from only a man-only organization to being branched out to include women's sports. This would allow the NCAA a great opportunity to expand and meet the demands of a changing society. Throughout these changes, one thing has continued to stay the same. All student athletes, male or female, are in no way to receive any type of compensation for their services to the NCAA. They are only allowed to receive scholarships for schooling if they are eligible to do so. So based on their skill sets and the university they attend, this can fluctuate per student and per university. This has long since been the stance of the NCAA and has had little controversy until recently. Since the organization has become so profitable, some see this time for the profit of the athletes to increase also. As Ben Axelson from the Post-Standard put it, coaches' salary have increased as much as 300 times what they were in the 1950s. The ticket prices and stadium capacities have steadily grown. Player compensation has remained the same throughout that time in the form of a scholarship. We will next cover the NCAA's stance for not paying the players and how players see themselves while playing for the NCAA. David Roberts of the website The Gym Bar summed up the NCAA stance by saying, "The argument from the NCAA is that if you start paying the players, it is no longer an amateur sports league, which goes against tradition. They also argue that athletes are primarily students, and, of course, many of them are on athletic scholarships." The NCAA believes that the athletes are fairly compensated for their input for the organization. Paying them on top of their scholarship would be far too much expense. Players are allowed a very rare opportunity of being able to play for a free education by just playing a game. Players, however, had this to say in a USA Today article. In the top tier division, almost 2 of every 3 players said they consider themselves more of an athlete than a student. This statement shows that most players feel that they put more effort into the program than what they get out of it. They call for a new form of rules regarding restrictions to pay them and want to see it done immediately. The NCAA believes that the longer they keep quiet and do not stir the pot, the quicker the entire issue will simply be forgotten. Just like other instances, people will soon forget the hype and will move on to critique some other part of the organization. Finally, I will cover the reasons why it is time to pay these student athletes. Although their tuition and housing is taken care of, many players sneak by with little else. For those that have families, they are unable to provide for the necessities of raising their children and caring for spouses. Ben Axelson again states, "Without the ability to get a job, most live under the poverty level." In the case of most athletes, they are not even covered by a full scholarship. According to Lynn O'Shaughnessy from CBS News, full-ride sports scholarships are scarce. There are only 6 sports where the scholarships are full-ride. These so-called head count sports are football, men and women's basketball, and women's gymnastics, volleyball, and tennis. In these Division I sports, athletes receive a full ride or no ride. This goes against every argument stated that college athletes receive enough for their talents. If the NCAA is going to coast off the idea that student athletes are fairly compensated, then they better at least make sure that every athlete receives a full scholarship. To conclude and summarize, as the NCAA continues to grow and gain profits, it is only reasonable that players who earn that profit get a fair share. To gain from another person's sacrifice is not only wrong, but it goes against every moral and ethic principle that this nation was founded upon. As John Locke said, all wealth is the product of labor. In this case, the NCAA is gaining their wealth from the labor of modern day slavery. Thank you.